Your voice can inspire a spark in someone else, who then inspires a spark in someone else. And then before you know it, there's a lot of momentum.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming back to another recording of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. I'm here with Brianna Ludwig. I'm excited to bring on our guest in a few minutes. They'll be bringing us very interesting questions. They're our guest hosts for the day. But before we do that, I'll give a little recap on how Foul Ball Safety Now started back in 2019 and where we are today, and bring some news as well. So back in 2019, seeing morning news, it was very disturbing to see somebody get hurt by a foul ball. It was on national news. And from that point on, being a baseball fan and being somewhat in the know, knowing that this was a reality and this could happen anytime, and having some experiences and thoughts about it over the years, I said, I'm going to pay attention to this issue. And at the same time, NBC News actually did an investigative piece, and I thought it was well done. People can see the NBC report from 2019, whether it's on the website, easily found, or Google. Similar to ESPN, they did a 5-minute segment that we call Exhibit A, which is on the website, which is unfortunately a disturbing video, which shows the children getting hit by foul balls. And even at the time, they highlighted something that happened in New York in 2017. In 2017, I wasn't even aware of that one till I got started with talking and thinking about foul ball safety back in 2019. A little girl also was on that video who was hurt at Yankee Stadium. And I never knew about it for 2 years till I started looking into the matter. So we're following the news. I've been with the journalist for 6 years plus. Brendan, he's been great. He's an investigative reporter. We've archived so much information that people are going to see. We can't not pay attention to all of these things we keep on discovering within courts. We're getting calls from lawyers. We're getting calls from victims. Even baseball players are getting the monkey off their back because they are in conflict from their time as players. They tell us what they're thinking about when they're playing, and they're telling their parents one thing, but maybe the fans not having the same inside information about where to sit and what the best practices are when going to a game. So that being said, that's a little bit of recap of foul ball safety now. Little news, we sent out a letter to the Queens College investigation. People could see a foul ball safety now, Queens College investigation. We sent out letter number 5. About a year ago, a college student contacted me and told me that they were worried about hitting balls over the sides during practices and games, that there was an elementary school right next door to the field. And these student athletes are feeling the pressure, or feeling the internal pressure, that one of them are going to eventually hit a kid and hurt somebody. And I said, well, that's legit. You shouldn't have that on your mind while you're playing the game you love. And first letter we wrote, we got a response back officially from the athletic director of the school, who got word from the president to get back to us, which they did. But we're on letter number 5, and now we're copying all folks. On letter number 4, we copied the NCAA, and we even got a Queens College student newspaper to write an article. People can see that under Queens College investigation. And we hope they have plans in place so this year the student athletes don't have to fear of the reality that eventually it's not if a ball is going to strike a human being or an object, it's when. And that's what these student athletes are searching to do. They want to play the game free and clear. Who can blame them? You want them to have the opportunity to do that. We're soon discovering this year that there's other universities that are also in the same predicament. And that's a whole nother conversation. We know about what happened in Modesto, California, when early in 2025, I was contacted by a lawyer's office in Modesto. They told us of a woman who was outside the ballpark, just minding her business, waiting to go in. And there could be maybe 10 or 15 balls at some of these 169 professional ballparks, and probably many more, where they do rain on the sides within a 3-hour period. It could be the sidewalk, it could be the pavement, or the window of the car, or somebody's head, like in Modesto. And we feel like the people in Modesto were in the dark for a few years. This was in the summer of 23, spring or summer of 23. And it wasn't until 2025 when I got contacted by the attorney, and At that point in time, we then learned a few months later that the case was settled, but still, people should have maybe been walking around the last 2 years and in the present and future with some kind of umbrella in the parking lot. It is a reality that these balls will rain down outside. Following that story about balls flying outside in colleges and professional ballparks, and we hope that a bigger, broader conversation will come as we keep on presenting. We're sort of like the people want to know, the people inquiring minds want to know, our guests want to know more, so they're asking us questions and we're going to bring them on. So it's exciting that I'm getting an opportunity to meet great people that just want to know more. And they sometimes bring their professional perspective. Sometimes they just want to bring their epiphany of awareness to this issue from a few days ago and want to go deeper into this conversation and ask us questions. So that's what we're going to do. I'll get into some other news as we go. There's a few other things that we're gonna take care of. That broken bat that flew over the netting in Seattle, during the playoffs, and the announcer, upon replay, 5 minutes after the fact, says, "Yikes, look out." And nobody on social media said peep, why are broken bats in 2025 still allowed to fly into seats like boomerangs? It's beyond me, but we want to start these discussions. We're going to follow up and get the Seattle Buildings Department involved and start sending people letters in Seattle. It could be other places as well, but this is what we have. We have whatever comes in front of us, whatever Brendan and I are finding, we're going deeper on it, and we just want to start a conversation about these issues, and we hope people will as well. All right, Brianna, how are you today?
Doing good, Jordan. I'm excited to get into this conversation with you and our guest host. So, without further ado, I'd love to welcome Melissa Peltier. She is an actor, voice actor, and producer. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Melissa. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thanks. You know, it's interesting you use that phrase, epiphany of awareness, and that's kind of how
Uh-huh.
I got introduced to this whole thing, too. Yeah, finding you guys online, and I'm learning so much about this issue. I'm excited to get into it.
Definitely. We're really excited, and the roles are reversed. We're excited for you to take this in whatever direction you'd like to go. We hope you have a strategy, but if you don't, that's okay too. We'd love to just hear your inquiring mind.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm out here in Colorado. I was born in Detroit, though, so I remember as a kid going to the old Tiger Stadium downtown, and I guess it closed in what, it must have been the 90s. But and even now going to the current parks and here at Coors Field as well, it's interesting to see that safety isn't necessarily at their top priority for a gamut of reasons. It's funny as I was looking into this, seeing you guys were already out here at the All-Star game, and I didn't hear a whole lot about you guys out there and trying to educate fans. And so I'm wondering, like, what are you guys doing, whether it be on social media or to get the word out? What are the things that you're doing to inform people of what's happening?
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, in the summer of 2021, they had the All-Star game in Colorado. People remember it was supposed to be in Atlanta, but there was a political climate and they moved it over to Colorado.
Mhm.
But I found some guys who were willing to walk around the ballpark and give out some flyers and hold up a sign. I've also rented out some airplanes over some other all-star games, before games, just to let people know that foul ball safety now is a thing, and it's worthy of paying attention to, taking a visit to the website, giving me some feedback. It's a start for a discussion. That being said, what we're doing is we're showing up every week by Brendan and I continually, there's millions of people that are touched by the game of baseball. Most of the people are not necessarily inside baseball, but they're fans and they want to know more. Inquiring minds want to know.
Mhm.
But we are also just putting together documents, possibly for a book or a book series. That's what Brendan does in his part time. Both Brianna and Brendan have been great. They could be doing other thing with their spare part-time, their spare working part-time, and I'm glad they're working for me. Brendan's great 'cause he'll do a few hours of independent work, and we have 80 interviews right now. We have
Wow.
victims that tell their stories. This is all for the archive. This is all for people to eventually learn about what they've said and from their experiences. People that unfortunately have been blinded in one eye, two people that we both interviewed. A gentleman whose wife unfortunately died a couple of days after she was struck at the Dodger game in 2018. He's been great. He's been part of our 6 or 7 virtual press conference experiences, and
Mhm.
he's also interviewed with us. And baseball players are telling us their conflicts and their thoughts about maybe this should have been addressed long earlier, and why isn't this being addressed now? So
Yeah.
we're just bringing people getting them caught up to speed. Let people decide once they learn from everything we present how they think about the game from past to present and hopefully in the future.
You know, it is I'm a mom of 2 kiddos too, and we've gone to the ballparks, and I always keep my head on a swivel. I'm watching for what's going on, and, especially right now, there's so many people that are I guess involved in their phones more so than what's happening around them too, and so that really is concerning to me when we look at the possible dangers. Because as a mom, all you wanna do is be able to take your kid to an experience, right? And as a fan, take your kid to an experience and not have to worry about their safety there. Just as I would we have metal detectors as we're entering to make sure that we stay safe, and it's really scary to me that, even sitting in the stands that I could be putting my kids in danger.
I agree entirely. We know based on all the research we've done that a conversation should have been had winter after winter after winter. MLB, who tracks everything, they've tracked everything when it comes to the exit velocities and the launch angles clearly for the last decade or two. So, knowing all this information, why aren't they finally presenting all of their facts about what happened the previous year and what they anticipate the following year? That would bring the epiphany of awareness that's long
Right.
overdue. People would finally get a sense it's not free, unconditional good times at the ballpark. There's other issues we need to consider. Once you get to the game, Melissa, it may already be too late because even if they tell you on the warning, like on the signs on the seats, right, even in front of
Mhm.
you by your cup holder, the last I checked, we're not superheroes and action figures. Once
Right.
people see this video from 2019 or a judge in one of these 30 to 40 cities that still have no netting past end of dugouts, they need to be presented this 5-minute video. And I think they would immediately say, no human being should be there. And immediately 18 or 21 and over, anyone under, no way, no how. I think that would be the right thing to say. I don't think parents, even if they decided they wanted to bring their children to the game, even seeing after this video in one of these 30 to 40 professional cities, should have that right. And I go back to the 1970s when they
Mhm.
said parents didn't have that discretion anymore. The kids needed to be in the back, seat
Mhm.
belted, and also taking a risk if you're 18 or 21 and older in places like Spain and you really want to take a
Mhm.
risk and run with bulls, you can do that
Right.
if you really, really want to, but you're not bringing the little guys. And
Right.
that's the
Right.
way baseball should have been marketed because they're doubling down, tripling down every single summer. Any promotion that gets the families, of course, which includes kids, into the ballpark. And you don't have the information to make that qualified decision. Never did.
So what's the barrier in making it a safe environment? Because so much, shifting the culture of it is so difficult. Like, is there a way to create, I guess, economically, right? Because we're talking dollars for these modifications. Is there a way economically to make it a safe environment for families?
It would be pennies on the
Wow.
millions, because it's not a matter of even millions of dollars, it's thousands of dollars, whatever it may be,
Right.
30,000 for this ballpark, 80,000 for that ballpark, whatever it may be, that is at least to get it into a place maybe similar to, like, where Japan has it, where they
Mhm.
don't have those serious facial smashes. They may have the
Mm.
pop-up that comes up and down. Certainly,
Sure.
the model of Japan is good to look at because at least they're socially conscious of the matter. They may even have team attendants on every aisle. As the ball goes
Right.
up and comes down, they'll blow some kinda whistle. They may even have some people may think distasteful animation on the scoreboard, which shows a fan getting carted off in an ambulance, but they're trying to hammer home the point that it's not a free ride at the ball game. So there's
Right.
culturally things in place that at least brings this to the attention. They even have a section down below where they let you flirt with those 100-mile-an-hour balls. But apparently on the video, I saw little kids there, maybe 11
Mhm.
to 12-year-old kid. Even though they give them a helmet and a glove to defend themselves, the last I checked, their face wasn't blocked by a
Right.
mask. So I'm
Right.
like, maybe they even have some flaws. But either way, it starts with a conversation, Melissa. And
Absolutely.
once we bring this information from the past, I think people that have brought their 2 and 4 and 6 and 8-year-olds as they grew, maybe there were 2 kids every 2
Mhm.
years apart, they went to games 4 times a year. They're gonna put the
Right.
math together and realize that wow, there could have been somebody seriously injured the day before, or the day after. We really didn't think of that. Why would we come if that was the case? With Mrs. Goldblum in Dodger Stadium, unfortunately, she was hit in August of 2018, and it wasn't announced till, the early of 2019, and the nets didn't go up vertically where she was hurt in the loge level behind home plate till Labor Day the following year. So we knew for the whole calendar month of September, there could have been 15 out of 30 home games. It's usually half and half.
Mhm.
Nobody knew that they were sitting in the same seat, same row, same section as Mrs.
Um,
Goldblum. And then who's to say that people that sat in that same seat in April, May, June, July, and August of the following year knew that Mrs. Goldblum got hurt and then died a few days
mhm.
later? And then it wasn't until a few days after that, the nets went up. So they even
Mhm.
put the nets up. It's a 4-day fix if you get a crew together. And why did they kick the can down the road for a whole year, pretty much? And
Right.
certainly could have done more to tell us everything. Tell us, let us know what is really happening. Don't spring it on us once we're there that this is going to happen potentially. We weren't at the kitchen table. The only notice or
Right.
warning we ever got really was before the e-tickets came along, was the hard ticket. It may be microprint that said they weren't responsible if somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
Microprint. That's not a one pager to the fans every winter. It,
Right.
because what would have happened was not only would fans have gotten more information, the right agencies would have also learned about this and may have come in and set some guidelines. But still,
Mhm.
there's been no guidelines in place. It's better late than never that some of these agencies that say, "Hey, wait, we should have heard about this 35 years ago or 55 years ago," after a 14-year-old boy unfortunately died also at Dodger Stadium.
We're inundated, I think, as parents as well.
Mhm.
If I'm taking my kid to somebody's birthday party at a trampoline park, we're
Right.
signing that multi-page waiver, right? That says, they're not responsible. Or if we're going to an amusement park, and I mean, all of these different things. And there's a lot of risk that's involved, I think, with parenting, especially nowadays, that we're
Oh,
dealing with on so many different levels. And I think it's difficult for parents nowadays to navigate. It feels like we're getting it from all sides, right? We want to make sure that our kids are not missing out, and
mhm,
especially as a parent who wants to get their kid off of the screen, right? Wanting to be
mhm,
involved in sports, but then we look at a little league game where kiddos are still at risk, right? Or if they're going to their older siblings' baseball game at the high school,
right.
at the college. So, I think you're right. It needs to be a kitchen table issue, but also, like, who are the regulatory agencies that are holding back? Is it the league? Is
Mhm,
it the individual teams? Is it the NCAA? Like,
mhm.
where are we seeing that they're not taking action?
Sure. So I'm new at dealing with the NCAA, but as long as student athletes express themselves to me and say, "Hey, Jordan, we want to play the game free and clear," then I'm going to stay on this conversation. On
Mhm.
the high school level, we got contacted. Actually, a city in Tennessee called, believe it or not, White House, Tennessee. So some
Hmm.
booster from White House, Tennessee contacts me and he writes me a letter and he says, "Hey, Jordan, we can't have soccer games going on while baseball games are going on. Can you help us? Can you get us some nets?" And I wrote
Mm.
back, I said, "I'm glad you guys are discussing it. I wish you the
Yeah.
best of luck." But at least they're thinking about it. We all need
Right.
to think about what's happening locally at our ballpark. I have a few
Mhm.
other examples. A woman bought a house in suburbia Philadelphia, and she's near a high school field. And she said to the city council, "My kids can't go outside and play while while the teenagers are hitting their 400-foot balls."
Mhm.
And, the city council said, "Tough." The school and the field was here before the development. You're out of luck,
Wow.
or she's got an issue. She may wanna move. But
Mhm.
either way, it's a topic that is I'm learning that there's a lot more to it. The public parks, the only line of defense is in the little league games or even with the 15-year-olds, maybe that are hitting the 300, 400-foot balls, there could be fields that are commingling with each other, where one center fielder's back is turned to another center fielder, and the only line of defense is heads up. I mean, we gotta do
Right.
better. Yeah, so it's really on all levels, and I'm excited to go deeper and find people that are willing to discuss exactly what their realities are. Maybe it'll be for the first time, but heads up should not be the legacy of youth
Right.
baseball and walking around parking lots in Modesto, California, and Queens College, where there's a campus and an elementary school, should not be the legacy of baseball. But we're going to try to change it. It's not been upfront. It's not been reminded about all of the levels that are all flawed and need discussion.
Yeah, and, so much of our news cycle is just 24 hours, if that, right? So, it may be on people's awareness, and then they're on to the next thing. In my filmmaker producer hat, I'm thinking of, so many documentaries that have lasted within me and, caused me to wanna take action of things, and I just see so many stories that can be told from families who are dealing with this and, players that are wanting change as well and community members and wanting to speak up and share their stories.
I'm excited because I have posts on some of these websites which are looking for baseball influencers, not paying them a lot of money, but I'm meeting student athletes that are calling me. I'm meeting career coaches. At least they want to talk to me for 30 minutes, whether they're interested in the
Mhm.
job or not, and getting some of their influencers in baseball in the room so we could finally address what's going on in their neighborhood. That's great, whether it's a high school field or whether it's one of the 169 professional fields. People should know everything. Level playing field, pun intended, if that's the way to
Right.
phrase it.
Right.
We all
I
Yeah.
need to
know,
be
I
on
was
a playing field, equal playing field, and fans have never had a seat at the table, and I'm hearing about youth sports, so I'm gonna be receptive, and I'll try to follow the conversation or inspire one in their area, in their neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking so much about how, our as consumers, our dollars influence what happens a lot of times, right? And so sometimes we can't rely on corporations and, maybe it's the leagues, NCAA to take action until we as consumers demand it. And sometimes that means voting with your dollars, right? And so it can be just as simple as at your kid's little league game or at the PTO meeting, you're talking to fellow parents and saying, "Hey, I don't know that I'm going to be taking my kiddos because this is kind of scary what potentially could happen." Either if unfortunately they lose their lives or they're permanently disabled with no support to care for them further on down the line.
It's already difficult, as a parent to discern what risks you're willing to take with your child. That's a very personal
Yes.
discussion and probably differs from family to family and has a lot to do with the personal experiences of parent to parent, right, throughout their life.
Mhm.
But I can say as a parent and with the research I've done and the things I've seen working with this campaign that going to a baseball game is not a risk I'm willing to take with my child. And when I say that to people, it sounds radical and anti-American. Let me tell you, the reaction,
Mm,
the look on their face when I say that. But I know more than the general public. I know
right.
about the 14-year-old that died and the woman that died in 2018 and the children who have had, you know, brain bleeds and skull fractures. I know about the 2 men who were blinded 15 days apart at different games. You know what I mean? And the many people who have 2 people who have lost eyes. And
Yeah.
I think if this information was more readily available and transparent, it would give people an opportunity to make their own decision. But it is very difficult even with putting it out there because you know, the MLB's marketing persona is over 100 years old, and it's been this wholesome apple pie, bring the kids, fun
Mhm.
family at the ballpark for over 100 years, and it's very ingrained into American culture, and it's a bit of an undoing that even somebody who is not really a baseball fan probably has that picture in their mind of baseball. It's quite the task that we've undertaken, that Jordan's really undertaken and led for the past 6 years, yeah.
There was one story that we're working on right now, which is, almost parallel to Brianna and potentially, the baby's age. We know of a toddler that was unfortunately struck by a bat in Tampa, and that case went on for 6 or 7 years. And baseball defense really put this family through the ringer.
Mhm.
And it mirrors what's happening in 2025 when people can see the T-Mobile link on the website where it shows the broken back coming into the seats like a
Mhm.
like a boomerang. And why is business as usual still allowing broken bats to make their way over nets, potentially to pierce your heart? We
Right.
unfortunately know too much sadness about this one story because an attorney contacted us, and we just learned of a settlement in the case, but the child may get a help for the rest of his life. He's nonverbal. He's 7, and
Mm.
it's terrible. He's not getting first class 100 therapists a week. He's getting minimal. They'll stick him in a classroom, and he'll
Mm.
be nonverbal. He's not going to get the extra care that he gets. And the parents don't get anything for lost compensation and pain and suffering. So
Right.
we want to eventually bring this story to life. And you're a documentary filmmaker. You may be inquiring with me later more about it, and I'll tell you more about it. It's a sad situation. And the only way we found out about it is because the law firm found me and
Yeah.
they said,
Oh,
"Can you
wow.
help us for our case?" Yeah. I actually went to the first day of the trial. Yeah, it was a mistrial. And then we learned the mistrial because there was some technicality. But you got to see it was like Watergate. It was like 10 lawyers on this side, 10 lawyers on that side, and little old me sitting in the courtroom. That was it. That was it. I'm telling you. And then I saw the beginnings of it, and then I left, and then I found out it was a mistrial, and then we found out a month or 2 later that there was a settlement. And now the parents may be able to talk to us, but we will go very gently, but they're
Sure.
not gonna be able to discuss the terms of the settlement. They may be
Right.
able to discuss something or their own personal feelings. We're gonna look into that, similar to Irwin Goldblum, whose wife unfortunately died at the Dodger game. He's been
Mhm.
great with us. He's been to 6 or 7 of our virtual press conference experiences, and he's interviewed with us one-on-one. He just doesn't talk about whether he got a dollar or a million from the Dodgers,
Right.
but
Right.
whatever it is. We're
But
here.
yeah,
We
like you
are here.
said,
We want to enlighten people. This is part of the legacy of the game. We wanna just tell people.
what a great partnership you can afford those victims and, I think everyone that's concerned for it here so that they can get the information, you can help them along the way, especially those parents who are dealing with not only the care of their child, but in a very lengthy court case and then everything that comes after that, right?
Unfortunately, and we don't know this family, and eventually, I would love to make them feel confident in talking to me and let them know that there are more people that are ready to hear their story and really shame baseball for what they put this family through. And
Mhm.
why are broken bats in 2025 on national TV during the playoffs making their way over nets in Seattle that could pierce people's hearts? People should
Yeah.
see on my link at Foul Ball Safety Now, and it's like it all blends in. Nobody on social media said peep about it. Whatever.
Mm.
It's because it sort of like blends in the way the announcer
Right.
phrased it. Like, yikes, look out. Like, wow, what are we gonna have next? More
Mhm.
fireworks back after the commercial, because it was an eighth inning or whatever inning it was. It was an exciting playoff game. America was
Mhm.
watching it together. We all saw this together. And not one person made peep on social media. That's they're winning. They're winning. They're the wholesome image, the excitement, the romance, it's prevailing. And unfortunately, you got to really stick a nail in it and get it out, get the helium out. And finally, let's have a conversation. That's what we're gonna do. We'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad to be part of the conversation. I appreciate you guys having me on to do this
We
and to
we
educate me.
appreciate that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering where do you guys stand now in your process to get awareness out, to work
Mhm,
with the league, hopefully to get
mhm.
some changes? Have you guys seen some movement at all in any of the stadiums?
Well, movement is one thing. It's, the illusion, the improvement is a plus, of course, but it's not a solution. We want solutions. Solutions, solutions, solutions. Who's really having a say on how high and far and wide the nets need to go?
Mm,
Do the fans have a voice at the table? Never did. Did the players union and the owners supposedly negotiate, for more netting? Did the players union supposedly say, "We want more nets, and we wanna protect the fans"? I don't think they did hard enough because they're still going at it, and baseball players are still in conflict. They're human beings. I'm sure Almora was feeling horrible. That was the player that unfortunately hit the ball in
yeah.
2019. I'm also aware of, in the minor leagues, 2 children critically injured in the summer of 2023, Hickory, North Carolina, Peoria, Illinois. I could take people down the line of the Manfred minutes. He's the commissioner of baseball, what he said publicly. Very bright
Mm,
lawyer, been in the game for more than 40 years.
mm,
He's been also a commissioner for 10 years who basically represents the owner. Everything is by design. They always have a thought out message for the media when they do finally say something about the issue. But I would love to get my hands on those minutes because supposedly the players union and the owners have negotiated several times for in collective bargaining for more nets. But how about the
oh,
players union saying something like our guys are just not going to go to work anymore and hit balls at babies' heads? We don't want
yeah.
to do that anymore. And that video from 2019 just showed things from 2019 and 2017. The negotiations started long before that. So there was ample information out there, enough to know that what we saw on that 2019 horrific video should have never ever transpired. And again, it's an opportunity for anyone to learn the history. Call me. I'll give you
Mm,
a tour of the website. I just want to put the information on the table. You decide for yourself how you want to step up. But to answer or respond to what you asked, until there's pressure from fans or some agency,
mhm,
maybe like an OSHA. We had an OSHA guest on one of these previous recordings who was
mm,
also aspiring to do other things, which is exciting. And she was really great. She had no idea of what we were bringing. How about those 14, 15, and 16-year-olds people working for the first time, and they may be
mhm,
vendors at one of these 30, 40 ballparks. They don't know while their backs are turned that they can catch one in the back of the head. Why
mhm,
isn't OSHA stepping in and saying, "No more. We're gonna you non-union people don't even have a union, so we're gonna come in and help you," or whatever.
mhm,
And the
right.
union for the baseball players, they're just as accountable. They're the ones hitting the balls. It's all of us, even the baseball fans who've known a lot more than, I have, whether they're baseball insiders, whether they're media, whether they're broadcasters. It's time to step up and describe exactly what your experience was like in the game. Everyone brings credibility if they assert themselves, but everyone has their head in the sand, as they would say. And
Mm,
we're gonna make sure that, we're reminded that your head's gonna come out of the sand and you're gonna take tough medicine. We have it. Wanna hear it? And it'd be great if others wanna help us express it. We just have the history. We wanna tell baseball truth matters from an historical tense to present tense, and this is part of the legacy. We just wanna put it on the table.
Yeah, and I think to
Yeah.
Brianna's point as well, when we talk about it is that American pastime, and anyone who seems to quote go against what the norm is seen as un-American. And I imagine even celebrities, notable figures that are asked to go throw the first baseball out, if they were educated and were to say publicly, I'm not going to do that until I can see some nets put up, that tends to make them doubt their vocalization of the opposition of that. So because they don't want to be seen as un-American, and with the players, right? When we're talking about the players union, I'm impressed that they've been discussing it. It's sad that it didn't make its way through, especially when you say that it's just such little investment to make these changes and just to make it a safe environment. I think to me, as opposed to, sitting it out, it would be great to know that I could safely take my kid. Of course, there's always risks when you go out in public spaces, but that I could safely take my kid and enjoy a game and just let the worry of that situation, and the worry for everyone involved there, so that they won't have to worry that they could get seriously injured or unfortunately lose their lives.
Unfortunately, the legacy of the players union, they missed the boat. They didn't argue hard enough. You don't go to work. A rank and file for a bricklayers union is not gonna let their workers go to work with crappy, tainted cement. So it
Mm,
would be on the conscience of the bricklayers that these bricks are gonna rain down in 3 months? I don't think
mm,
so. I don't think that would be right. Similar to the baseball players union, they should have put a line in the sand. Guys, we're not letting our players hit balls at babies anymore. The players' unions families are fully informed of all of this, but the people who support the game, the fans, they're not. And they need to know all of this. And what did the players' union do to promote fan safety? I'm still checking. Google it, Brianna. Nothing that I could
yeah.
think of. Now, if they put out a one-liner somewhere here or there, great. But put it on the billboard, make it a statement, hold a press conference. And we're all accountable, all insiders. An NYU adjunct, Charlie, he wanted to write a 45-minute play about my journey up into from 2019 till, like, 2023, and he wrote this 45-minute bit. It's a nice first draft of me kinda going through where I grew up, and he takes me through the whole we go through, like, the whole baseball industrial complex.
Mm,
We call out the broadcasters.
sure.
We call out the writers because the publishers didn't want the editors to have their staff go long form on this because it wouldn't be good for business. We all knew growing up that the majority of the pages in the newspaper were sports pages. Publishers like to make money too. They didn't want to, have their writers go long form on this issue. I mean, we
Mhm,
say this. We're going based on the little that's been reported. So Charlie really took license in taking on the broadcasters. The
mhm,
with me, I'm a co-writer with them, if that means anything.
mm.
Broad broadcasters, writers, lawyers, players. We take on a lot of layers, we left out some. I said, we should go a little longer on that one, Charlie, when we have a time, because there's a few categories we left out. But
Mhm,
happy to talk to you about that later again, Melissa. So we're doing what we can. If people present an idea, hey, this is another way to get it out there, or that's another way to
right.
go out there. And Charlie twisted my arm a little bit, and we worked together on weekends for like 3 months. We think it's in pretty good shape, but why isn't anyone else adopting the cause? Why am I having a vigil of one? But I'm glad to do it. I'm not bitter. Brianna's been great. We're in healthy aggression, and people are coming to this conversation. And we're
Yeah.
confident that people are gonna take this conversation into their own circles.
Well, and I think sometimes an issue like this can seem so large, and you feel as an individual, well, what can I do? My voice isn't going to change the entire industry, but it doesn't have to, right? Your voice can inspire a spark in someone else, who then inspires a spark in someone else, and then before you know it, there's a lot of momentum happening behind it. And you just never know where your voice will end up eventually into the mind of someone who can make a huge change in the situation. And it can be as simple as sharing the website on your social media pages
Well,
or making a TikTok about it and saying, I'm concerned about this, that inspires others to be aware of it.
we will go back into those areas of the ticks and the talks and the social media. There's no doubt, it's worthy of a dabble, no doubt.
Mhm.
But again, we need people to pay attention. There is fire in the theater. I ain't going to sugarcoat it. There is fire in all of these theaters. And I'm glad to spend what I'm spending every week with people like Brendan, with people like Brianna, people like Lance, more than 150 hours worth of lawyers' fees for a reason,
Mm,
because there was a chapter where I had to go to court in Peoria from July of 23 to July of 24. That costs money. I check in with Lynn and David 20 minutes at a time. Great people. They charge me money. Everyone charges, which is fine,
mhm,
but it's worthy. The people that have been smashed, the people that I got to know, if the situation ever changes and it improves 99% and we're at a place like, "Oh my goodness, remember the dark ages back in 2025 and before?" I won't stop. I'll be pleased that that finally comes about, that we have a transparency society and you guys could all go to the game free and clear. But until the people that I know that don't have any closure, until they are made whole again, I'm gonna be at this. So,
mhm,
healthy aggression now to put to for the triage and to get this thing fixed, and there are solutions out there. When the meeting starts, the solutions will be coming in from all angles, and baseball will be like, "Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes," because people are making intelligent sense on what the solutions are. I hope to shift my focus to the families that have been hurt in the present and in the past, and,
mhm.
similar to the little baby that we know and the family of the 7 years of misery they've gone through, and they're probably still going through it. So, Brendan is great because he's my chief archivist, investigative reporter, and we know it we have a book series, but right now it's about, "Let's go, let's tourniquet this shit." It's fucking ridiculous. So that's
Yeah,
where it's at, Melissa.
it sounds like you've put in a lot of personal investment in this. How can
Yes.
folks help to further the cause and help you
Just
out
contact me. Let's have
monetarily?
a
Where do they go?
conversation. Talk to me. Be open to learning about
Yeah,
what I've done. That's it.
yeah.
We're all
And
baseball fans. It's worthy of all that time. Pay attention. That's all. It's part of our history. Let's put it
I
in its dark place. That's at least my bias. And then you decide. Or if it's not as dark as you think, great. If it's even darker than I think it is, which I think some parents who are already part of parent alliances are going to react in a really intense way when they learn what I know. And they're going to be like, what? Like, how dare those like, "We didn't know," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, alright, I'm sorry,
well, let's
I
talk
sorry I
about
s"
like some
yeah,
statistics. Like
yeah,
how the average foul ball that's coming into the stand, how fast is that going?
that's a great question. So we have something on the website called Exhibit A1. Fortunately, there was a published report by a publication called 538 in 2019. And it demonstrated all of the hot zones. It demonstrated how many foul balls there were in a 9 inning game. So we know just on simple math, there's 2,400 plus major league games, but there's also 14,000 other professional games every single year. And it almost charts out where you could trace your steps. Like, oh, we sat there all the time. Oh, they say 20% of the foul balls go there. So back in 2019, in a 9 inning game, it was 53 foul balls a game in Major League Baseball. I said to Brendan, we're talking about a lot of the other professional leagues all over the country. Let's just say, even though it was probably close to 50 or 53, let's just make it 25. So we cut it in half so we wouldn't look like we're inflating anything. So we
Mhm,
multiplied 14,000 games. This is not even MLB. These are the other professional leagues where the balls are going in and out over the sides, hitting people in heads. So 14,000 times 25, that's 350,000 foul balls. And when people see, please, everyone, check out Exhibit A1. We combined
mhm,
our own research into that report, and we came out with something in 2025 where people can almost trace their steps. And it'll beg the question just how fast those balls were going 20% of the time. Maybe some of
mhm.
them were going at 20, no big deal. Take out your glove, you little kitty, and catch a ball. But maybe some of them were coming at 100, like that
Right.
2019 video. And why are human beings sitting there? Because there's no time to react, and we weren't meant to react to that. No baseball player is allowing their families to sit there on his night off or while he's playing, let alone.
Mhm.
He's not going to sit there with his family. And there
Right.
was this player, Nomar Garcia-Parra. He's a very well-known baseball player. He may have been a little OCD, but maybe he was a little genuinely nervous. There was this
Mm.
section in Tampa that would come out where the fans would sit, and he thought that the father should switch seats with the kid. So he'd go over to the rail and say to the dad, "Maybe you wanna switch seats with your kid, so if anyone gets decapitated, it's you before your son." And he'd be like,
Wow.
"Oh, thank you." Because,
Yeah.
what these guys aren't screaming up to the mountaintop saying, "Enough!" And I think they're about to because we're inviting conversations like that. We have something on the website called The Healing Project where people can take part in a 10, 15-minute interview with me. That hasn't happened as of yet formally, but we've already interviewed more than 30 baseball players, Brendan and I, so we get a sense that they do wanted to put it into context.
Yeah, and I imagine, like, you go to SeaWorld or something like that,
Mhm.
and they tell you you're in the splash zone, right? So, you
Right.
might get wet, and if they colored every seat red that is in that hot zone, I think parents especially and fans would think twice before sitting in a red seat.
Good, all great ideas, but we finally have to put this out there. Nothing's been exchanged over the winter about what
Mhm.
went down the year before and what they expected the year after. It was always left to microprint, little this, little that. We're not responsible. Nobody looks at that at the kitchen table, and you're already in the parking lot in these 169 places and other places, and then you're already in the game, and you then see a sign. What does that mean? Didn't
Right,
help the lady standing outside in Modesto, and it didn't help people that we've interviewed,
right.
more than 20 victims and family members. We just wanna have this conversation. If there's mud on
Absolutely.
baseball's face retroactively, it's best that somebody else brings it rather than me. We just wanna bring the epiphany awareness, and if you need time to, get a glass of water after I bring the news to you, that's good because I think you're now receptive. At least I'm gonna stay that course because I believe it's worthy of all of our times. Certainly baseball people that have experienced baseball their whole lives. So
Mhm.
what if it means now you have to look at baseball in a different light? You're not a gatekeeper, you're not an employee, you're
Right.
not those folks unfortunately have not stepped up responsibly in my mind. And now it's our time to finally step up. We'll have a seat at the table, past and present and future. And I
Mhm.
invite anyone into this conversation.
And just like any major change, I think it's only gonna take one ballpark to say, "We're gonna do what's right by our fans," and I have a feeling they're all waiting for that one to start doing it before they say, "Okay, we're gonna have to do this," and then I think it'll be a snowball effect, so I
That's a
hope you
good
can get to
point.
that one.
We
Yeah.
would love to tell Brianna and her baby that this is the ballpark you can park your car at. This is where you can go in. And this is where the only
Mhm.
thing the kids can worry about is what kind of sugar, corn syrup, or anything else is
Right.
hitting, and or the weather. And that's it. Enjoy the day.
That's and that's a whole
Mhm.
'nother podcast. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But this was terrific, and it's great that you're engaging with us, Melissa.
I want to give you guys the opportunity again to share where everybody can go, what they can be doing. What's the
Great.
best way to enact change for you guys?
Great. I welcome a conversation, please, at Foul Ball Safety Now. 6.5 years worth of my time, and I'm going to be at it for another 6.5 years, unless there's a complete turnaround where there is that model ballpark and all others are following it. And there's that model parking lot where everyone can come and park and where everyone can come and go. And everyone knows everything. Terrific. And then I want to shift into the reconciliation from all the victims and all these
Mhm.
cases that we're learning about. We want these victims to have the right treatment. We want them to feel like they should come back into the game. We don't believe there's ever been integrity in the game after what we know. So how dare Major League Baseball say they have integrity when we don't know what we should have been knowing all along? That's my opinion. I would love to install that word integrity in the game. I would like to say, hey, now, 100 plus years since the baseball rule, where they haven't been motivated to do what I think they should have done, because most people that are injured in most states, they don't have recourse, or it's very hard to find a lawyer because of that assumption of risk. Lawyers wanna
Mhm.
get paid, and they wanna get their one-third, these personal injury lawyers. They're not gonna invest 30 to 50 hours worth of work
Mhm.
and go to court and not even get their case heard in round 1. I went to court in Illinois with a victim. She wasn't seriously injured, but it was a combination of a few things. It was Sandy in Peoria, who was injured a decade earlier, by a ball. She was nervous about going back, and she agreed to be part of this complaint with us, and I hired a lawyer in Illinois. We made some noise, and, people can see the website and look up all the Peoria information. There was a few news articles as well, and I think we made some points over a year. We need to make noise because Brianna is finding all these self-reported injuries, and people are testifying, these people who making their TikTok videos about their
Mhm.
about their injuries, sometimes even putting music to it, but I guess it's a way of getting it out there, so I welcome people making these videos because at least we have record of them. They're testifying they're never going back to another game again. We didn't meet anyone that maybe somebody had a concussion, maybe somebody we saw black and blue marks, we saw other injuries on the body. We may have not seen somebody who lost an eye or was in serious or critical care. But
Mhm.
we discovered 40 to 50 of those, and how many more that just haven't been reported? And people don't necessarily all make self-reported videos on their injuries. Maybe there's 10 times as many. But people can see the NBC study if you want historical context, the investigation piece. You can see the ESPN. These are news agencies that should be spending more time and resources on this, or they should be calling me and saying, "Jordan, we're just committed to this issue as you are. So help us." I'd be like, "Of course. We want to prevent black and blue marks moving forward." When fans learn about this, they'll put it all into historical context. Look at Exhibit A1. You'll almost figure it out for yourself. Trace your steps. You could decide how your epiphany of awareness wants to spring into action. We hope people will call to action. Heed the call, as they would say. But it's exciting. It's something to do every week, and it's more news and more people coming to me. It's train wrecks and car crashes. You can't look away, and that's what we're being exposed
Mhm.
to every turn, every turn.
It's so much bigger than the victims of this, though, and I think about when you talk about the lawyers that are getting their cut. And
Right.
without the lawyers being willing to take the risk, these individuals would go bankrupt in a 7-year court case, right? They need people to champion them on to, and it's not about a payday, right? We see that time and time again. These are about people trying to make their families whole again
Yeah.
after something that happened to them that should never have happened in the beginning. And it's an unfortunate, heartbreaking event, and not only is it something that happened, but then they're dealing with the healthcare system, which also can easily bankrupt, a family when you're dealing with so much. And some of these kiddos and individuals are gonna need a lifetime of care, lucky enough to survive, but need a lifetime of support after this, and so that doesn't go away just because the court case is closed. They'll still continue to struggle through this.
Yep. And there's a lot of details we can go inside some of these cases with you, and it's just unfortunate that, this is the reality that a lot of families have had to face. I'll just give one story that really pulls at me. It's terrible, but maybe she's over it. A woman gets hit in the mouth during batting practice, and the team, I'm not gonna name the team, a professional team, tell this person, "Just save the bills, save the bills, save the bills." And then, like, 8 months later, after all this dental
Mhm.
work, 15, $20,000 worth of work, they ghosted her.
Mhm.
And my lawyer said to
Mhm.
me, "Jordan, we need to get her a lawyer." And I said to her, Your statute of limitations are running out. Come
Yeah.
on, stick it to him." And she said, "Nah, I don't wanna bother." But to tell
Mhm.
for a professional team to put this particular lady through the ringer and
Right.
say, accumulate all the bills and then not even take care of that? Ugh,
Right.
really pisses me
Yeah, I
off.
mean, we're talking about the games, but we haven't even touched on spring break or batting practice. I mean, all of the
Yeah.
other areas that, gosh, spring training, I'm sure those those ballparks are a lot
Oh, yeah.
less apt to have some
Well, no,
safety.
I could take you through the Manford minutes, all the calls I made to spring training facilities, how they came short of even what they said. They'll always come short unless there's a third party or another party that says, all these ballparks are good to go." Like you said, if
Mhm.
imagine if we had the model ballpark. Absolutely. I wanna tell Brianna, "Brianna, I'm paying," or, "Brianna, this is worthy of a road trip. You gotta go 300 miles this way, because 'cause you're gonna be
Mhm.
ma it'll make a statement that you could tell all moms and kids, 'I'm feeling good, you should too.'" Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Brianna may not be in that position because she knows a lot. And
Right.
she certainly can inspire mothers who are baseball fans, who may already be part of mother alliances to welcome the epiphany of awareness and take it from there. And maybe they'll be inspired because they've already taken other causes to a very high level. And now they'll realize, wait a second, I've been in the middle of this all this time. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and maybe it is that local politician, the governor, the, mayor, the
maybe.
city councilors that are, looking at grants or, other opportunities to provide that. And if we are talking about even $30,000, yeah, to you and me, that sounds like a big chunk of change. But for a large city budget, that's something that they could easily do and utilize as, a safe baseball city. I'm not cool enough to know all of
Right,
the social media lingo, but,
right.
like hashtag safe baseball,
Sure.
hashtag follow
I'm
safety, but
glad to follow a strategy as long as people know they're gonna be able to reach milestones. They have to understand the cause. People have
Yep.
given me all this song and dance of what they can do, but I was like, "What do I get for $1,000? What do I get for 2,000? What do I get for 3,000? Am I
Mhm,
gonna tell me what milestones we're gonna reach after 1,000 or 2 or 3." That's when
mhm.
the, conversation ends. Everyone likes to run tests on your dime.
Yeah,
Everyone likes to tests on your on what potentially can happen. But if somebody says to me, "Man, this is gonna move the needle, Jordan." "Really? Jordan, you're not gonna pay me until we reach this milestone." "Oh, now I'm listening." "And you're not gonna pay me till we reach that milestone." "Wow, you
right.
got me really listening." But I haven't really heard that before. But
Mhm,
now I've raised the bar. The longer I've done this, the more I'm like, how I don't care if it costs $1,000,000 for every ballpark.
mhm,
Baseball's worth billions and billions and billions and billions and billions. Get
right,
your house in order, get all the affiliates in order, get all the MLB partner leagues in order, and then welcome colleges that may need your assistance in taking a look at their compromised situation, whether it
mhm,
be raising the nets to the sky. I don't want
right,
people in Modesto getting hit in the head anymore. It's
right,
ridiculous. Or why are
right.
10 or 15 balls within a 3-hour period hitting pavements, windows, and people's heads? It's not cool.
Mhm. I played fast pitch softball when I was in
Okay.
school, and we all knew the area where you don't park your car because it was gonna get cracked. Your windshield was gonna get cracked, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think probably you get the MLB on board, and then you move yourself down the line to everybody, and hopefully, eventually, we see, baseball as a sport in general that can be safe again for fans to enjoy.
Well, we'll end on the kumbaya, but it's not gonna happen so fast, Melissa.
Melissa, as a mother,
Mhm.
how do you balance wanting your children to have fun experiences with protecting them?
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult, and I think for myself, it is, 1, finding ways that I can make it as safe as possible for them so that they don't have to miss out. I'm a rare breed, I think, as a mom that I will go against the status quo and say, "I'm sorry, kiddos, this is not something that I feel safe doing with you." But if there's ever a way that I can make the environment safe-ish, and maybe we get to that 90% safe, then I'll say, "Okay, let's do it." Whether it's when they were little, making sure that they were the kiddo that was wearing all of the pads when they were learning how to ride their bike, right? And the helmet and the pads and everything to when they were swimming. We go in Colorado, we don't have oceans, but we do have a lot of rivers, and so we do tubing a lot. And so they'll be in the life vest, right? So maybe their friends won't, and they'll be in the tube going down the river, but my kiddos will have a life vest. So it's just trying to find how can I get them to just almost safe? We're never gonna, we can't unless we put our kids in a bubble, and even then maybe there's some risk, but we're never gonna get to 100% safe with our kids. But I I always make the joke like, well, I made them, I'd like to keep them, and I I feel that way, in general. Of course, I love them and want them to be safe. I try to balance safety with also allowing them to live life, and I think it just starts with reviewing what we're doing and, is there a way to make it safer? And if there just really isn't and the risk is too high, saying, sorry, kiddos, we're going to have to sit this one out.
Melissa, this was terrific. We'll always have an opportunity to stay connected. I wanna thank everyone tuning in for Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. And also, please look at the website Foul Ball Safety Now. You'll look at recent links, the recent Queens College investigation, letter number 5. We're following up with letters to some of these individuals a week after to see if they can finally speak about the issue. We also want to address that matter in Seattle with the broken bat in the playoffs. We wrote a note day after the playoff game alerting them that maybe they should not have their nets so low as broken bats come over the netting, and maybe they would have it done before their next home game, and there may have been one or two more home games after that. It was in the playoffs, and then they got eliminated in Seattle. But we're going to start a conversation with those guys, and that's just the way we want to keep it going and try to keep up with what we can do every week. And Brianna, thank you again. Melissa, thank you so much, and we'll
Thank
do it
you.
again soon, everyone.